Back to this.
Yesterday, Special Counsel Jack Smith had to move to dismiss the January 6th stuff and classified documents cases. He still insists that he built a strong case on both fronts, but cites that the DOJ rule says that a sitting president cannot be prosecuted. Now, you know who continues to deny all charges. And the dismissal comes shy of about 4 years since the Capitol insurrection. So after all that time and money, are we going to get a rebate? We're not getting any money back? Okay, well.
Nothing.
What do you think of it?
It kind of shows you there's no such thing as karma, doesn't it? I mean, it's like the Easter Bunny and affordable housing. It doesn't exist. I mean, I feel like eventually, I think we will get him out, but it's going to take a while. And let's hope that there's not too much damage that he does. And so, if you think about what happened in the past, how long is it since Election Day?
It's been about 2, 3. It's been about 3 weeks.
About 2 years.
It feels like a decade, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, the idea that Kamala
It feels like a decade since Trump has been elected. It's literally been several. Yo, I think they need to take a recess. They literally might need to take just a good vacation. Go sit down somewhere. Go reassess, reanalyze.
Harris says to American people,
Like this, they've had a long month. Like a tedious, tumultuous month.
I'm going to help you buy a house. That did not resonate as much as they're eating cats and dogs in Ohio. I mean, it's weird, isn't it? We're in a weird sort of state right now.
No, Trump also said that he was going to no tax on overtime. He also said he wasn't going to tax tips. He also said we were going to get fentanyl off the streets. He also said that too, but guess how far she went? She says cat and dog. The other thing of orange man bad, it's all along that same rhetoric.
Now.
Kamala said she was going to buy people houses, but they wanted to go for the guy who cats and dogs. Like, what the?
But I feel like, I also think, even though everybody's been talking about how awful these picks are for the cabinet, I feel like some of the Republicans in Congress are going to have to step up, especially when you have somebody like Robert Kennedy Jr. You sent me a thing the other day that said that dengue fever is on the rise. Okay, yeah. I don't think these Republicans want to get dengue fever. I don't think that they want to get COVID.
Yo, what the fuck? Was she up there? Yo. I wish I had co-hosts. Cause what? Yo. Where's that correlation? RFK has been very vocal about attacking the additives, attacking the chemicals that we have in our food, getting at addressing the obesity that we have in the United States of America. And she said, I'm telling you, they need a nice vacation, man.
I don't think that they want.
And they got to watch themselves. They got to watch clips of themselves so they can see what we were seeing.
Their kids to not get the polio shot. So when it comes right down to them, maybe they will step up because it will affect them.
Surprisingly, you're kind of making the point I was going to at the end there. So January 6th was disqualifying for me for Donald Trump. I stand by everything I said about the events of that day and that I said in the 4 years since. I don't think that somebody who engaged that way is somebody who should be in office. Yeah. But I did see over the last 4 years, but really the last 2 years leading up to the election, so many voters, it was just in the rearview mirror. It wasn't that they were comfortable with it. They didn't like it. A lot of people who vote for Trump don't even like Donald Trump and the way he behaves. But what they kept saying is the status quo is just unsustainable. It kept going back to the cost of living, which Hakeem Jeffries said when he was on our show was the #1 driving factor in the election. And there was this ABC News poll, and I know we don't love the polls, but it was right before Election Day saying that only 26% of Americans liked the direction the country was going. Now, I get you could say, okay, but do you think Trump is the answer? Who is the answer? But when people feel like in my day-to-day life, I struggle to make ends meet, it is too hard, I just can't get by, they're going to vote for what they see as change. And the point where I agree with you is that I don't think most people who voted for Trump were like, well, I'm off to vote for mass deportations and RFK running HHS. Even though he said he was going to do those things, it was the cost of living is too damn high and I just need a break.
Well, we knew this was going to come, the dismissal of this, so it's not surprising at all. This one hits for me because the #1 thing that bothered me and was not only, it was disqualifying before that, but I feel like when you talk about January 6th and denying election results, a lot of people can get on board with that sentiment from both sides and say, maybe they don't in public, but they do say that wasn't okay. This was huge for me. And I look back and it's very personal. I was a government major all the way through college. I remember going to DC the first time. And the images, although I'm not comparing this to the terrorist attack on 9/11, anyone that watches those clips can go back to that day and they have a visceral response. When I see the videos of January 6th, it is just like it happened yesterday for me. It is jarring. I can't believe it was the United States. There's 1,000 things I can't believe. So on that day, there was universal outrage. There were some leading Republicans, including Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell, that came out and said, this is bad.
And Jack Smith said they moved to dismiss the charges. So obviously there was prosecutors, there were people that were in the legal system that didn't find charges and wanted to dismiss it. And here she is still yapping. But I don't blame her. She's probably a part of the same people that tries to put Trump the Project 2025 on Trump. That don't got nothing to do with Trump.
Strangely, it was so convoluted from that point on, though, because the statistics of how many Republicans said January 6th was bad went from 21% approved of January 6th. By 2024, 30% approved. Wow. In 2021, 29% of the voters said that there was fraud in the election or that it was not legitimate. In 2023, 36% believed. It's strange how it was carried through, even with January 6th and the committee and all the evidence, that it was somehow weaponized by the right to become it's a Tuesday. So the irony for me is that this is the democracy in election that Trump had tried to subvert, the very democracy that is allowing him to get away with it by being voted back in office.
Have you ever tried to visit a website only to
This is
have
the
like
first time I'm
90% of it
grateful
taken
for
up by
that,
ads?
man.
Pi.org is a web.
Because somebody needed to cut her off.
That
And
was
now we
always
get
the
Sunny
plan.
hosting, y'all.
I firmly believe
You know,
that the
she
reason
has
that he
a
was
firm
running
record.
again to be president was partially because he wants to sort of milk money out of the government, which is what he did the first time. He was running to stay out of jail. That's what he was doing. If we're being honest, okay. But let me say the other thing I want to say is, a lot of people are blaming.
She need another legal note. Whoopi, hand her another legal note because she just don't get it.
Garland and saying, why did he take so long? And they're blaming the Department of Justice. Why did they take so long? As an alum of the Department of Justice, I want to make it clear that these cases generally take between 2 and 4 years to prosecute. I know that sounds crazy, but think about how many witnesses, including yourself, who testified in front of that House committee, 1,000. Yeah. When you are a prosecutor like Jack Smith and receive that case, you now have to re-interview those witnesses. You're not going to just take the paperwork and say, okay, Alyssa said this, so that's fine. You've got to do the work yourself. So between the House committee report being released, that was in 2022, they were gearing up against all of this pressure from the other side, appeals, motions,
So what can Jack
legal
Smith
practice.
do now?
Now what he has done is he's withdrawn the cases. The judge has said they are withdrawn without prejudice. What that means is you can bring them again. But the problem is, because he's the sitting president, you can't continue the prosecution, and the statute of limitations will likely run out when he's done. So he did what he wanted to do. But the last final point I'll make, I know that most people are saying, well, this was a kitchen table issue. This was about the cost of eggs. Donald Trump never talked about the cost of eggs. He tried to commit a sex act on a microphone. He talked about,
Oh my gosh, she's still worthy to be laughed at. Thank you,
being
Alyssa.
eaten. Yeah. But when the exit polls were taken, the 92% of black women that voted for the vice president said that the number one issue for them was January 6th and the fall of democracy. Yeah. So there were some voters that felt that was very, very
She talked with so much conviction, but why? You're not hitting on nothing. Like, she thinks she got a drop the mic moment. Like, yeah, we agree that wasn't good, but that don't got nothing to do with Trump.
Because I do think that's a valid point. Donald Trump was never on message this election. We talked about it constantly, but he still won because he had ads that were on message, that were being blasted all over TV. So people were still hearing it. Here's how he's going to bring down the cost of living. Here's what he's going to do for you. So we're all thinking like, oh, he's talking about cats and dogs.
It's literally a reoccurring theme, cats and dogs, and they always want to make it a gender thing, a race thing, when people just want to live in a decent economy, when people don't want to have their children and they don't want to have boys competing in girls sports and all that type of things. People just want to be able to survive. It's literally, even surviving being able to survive is one thing, but imagine being in an economy where the groceries and where it's literally tough. And then to make an offer of no taxing on tips, no taxing on overtime, that appeals to the average American, regardless of color and cats and dogs and all that BS. But let me know what you guys think. It's listen, the views they're good for a meltdown. We'll get a few meltdowns once or twice a week from them. But y'all hit the comment section, hit the like button. Let me know what y'all think, and then check out one of these videos in your face.